Video number 3. Oh. Last time we talked, my name is Damon Knight, by the way. I'm 67 years old. You're following along on basically a journey that I'm taking to recoup my health. I'm not doing it alone. I have a whole bunch of doctors, and really the one that is helping me the most, and I put the most trust in, is my daughter. And I'll tell you about her, because she's as close to I can find a miracle worker as anybody I've ever met. And it's lucky that I have her for my family. She's the one that's keeping me alive. As I mentioned in the last part of the tape, that I walked technically without pain yesterday. I think it's been the second time in 15 months. So, you know, a lot of you folks have similar problems. You may have trouble getting up off the chair. Maybe you have trouble walking. Maybe you have pains that go into your legs and from your hamstrings down into your calves, down into your feet. I know I have. And some of it is sort of along kinds of stories. I mean, I've had weeping on my legs, which means that my skin got so tight that it broke open and my leg would actually weep. And it was coming from the plasma from my bloodstream. It's leaking out of my skin. I had a piece of my foot on my left side, which is my bad foot. I had a chunk of it right below my big toe come off in my hands. I had moved a ocean vessel that I own, and it took us 7 hours to move it from one marina to another. Another beautiful story, actually. And see, I can get off on tangents so darn easy. I don't know whether to talk about a leg, which, you know, I'm walking on, or talk about moving a boat. I don't know which ones you'd rather hear. You'll probably get bored of them if you don't turn me off. Let me tell you about the boat. It's a bigger interest to me than my foot, actually. When I became 65, I bought a boat. Actually, it's a ship. If you stood her on end, she would be 4 stories high. She's a wooden warrior ship with great juju. Her name is the Stargazer. She's been all over the world. She was originally manufactured, or as I say, born in Japan. I met a man that had worked on her in Hong Kong. She's been to Ecuador and Peru, the Bahamas, Mexico, up and down the coast. She's been to Martha's Vineyard. In fact, she got caught in another hurricane, Hurricane Alicia, out of North Carolina, when that came through. She's been to Norway, Sweden, and practically all over the world. She was originally docked out of Miami. The man who owned her before he was a real sailor. I mean, he used to fish for cod out of Greenland and Norway. He commanded a number of fishing vessels as well as large excursion type sailing ships. He had spent 5 years and $60,000 building her up. She's made out of teak and mahogany. He put new motors into her and really took fantastic. Made her look beautiful. It was his personal boat. He had her in dry dock, and his wife, since he would take off on his journeys, was basically never home. And she says, you know, you're spending all your time at sea, and you're never at home with the family, blah, 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 blah. And if you're married, you understand. If you're not married, you can't conceive of what your partner can decide for you would be your best plan of action. But she had decided that they should open up a restaurant, and so he had to turn around and put his boat up for sale. A couple guys came over, and they got to drinking some beers, and the boat was in dry dock, and they said, well, we'd like to put it in the water. How do we even know if it floats? And he said, oh, that's fine. So he goes over, and they bring a large truck along, and they load the Stargazer on top of her. She weighs 11,700 pounds. He's running 4 stories if you straighten her out. But she's 37 feet. She sleeps between 5, or if you got 7 little midgets, then you can have 7 people in there. She's got a galley. She's got a head. Head means that it's like a little toilet. And I kind of fell in love with her from basically a dream that I had. But I'm getting off the subject again. So these guys loaded her up on a truck, and instead of putting her into water, just simply drove off. And he searched for them for 5 years. He looked for his boat. Finally, he gave it up. He gave it up with the Coast Guard, gave it up with Parks and Recreation. He called all the marinas. No one could identify where the boat went. No one had registered it. No one had gone over and put a title on it. It just disappeared. Close to 10 years later, I find this boat at the marina. Once again, there's a little bigger piece of the story. About 3 days before I found her, I had a dream, the most vivid dream I've ever had in my life. And I saw the Stargazer in my dream. I saw it on fire. And I saw, I believe, myself on it. And it was so vivid, I woke up in a sweat. And then as dreams go, you kind of halfway forget about it. But the next day, I see this tiny little ad that says, learn to kayak. I said, oh, good for my heart. I learned to kayak, learn to paddle. I'll build up my heart muscles. And I'll also teach you how to sail. And I said, oh, beautiful. And it's not too far, the price is right. You join a sailing kayak club. So that day, when I saw the ad, I went down there up on Nasa Road 1 in Webster, Texas, and joined the club. And immediately, I got a chance to go out on some different kind of kayaks and ride, and he took me out sailing, and I was having a blast. I thought this was wonderful. I hadn't sailed and been really on the sea for 25 years. When I worked at NASA, when the shuttle had gone down, on the weekends I started to learn how to sail. And then I found out that I really couldn't sail. It relieved the tension. You have to realize when the shuttle went down, we were working to go over and find an O-ring for Congress, and every night they would take our drawings and our write-ups, and they would handcuff someone and put it in an attaché case and fly them over to Washington and take the questions back from Congress and again put it with another courier, lock them up with handcuffs, put it in the thing, and bring it back to Houston in order for us to answer the questions. And this kind of merry-go-round that we were on never really stopped. And what was good and at the same time bad, we had the entire world watching us. I mean, we were not allowed to make a mistake. So the tension and stress really built up. I saw this ad that allowed me to try sailing, and I fell in love with it. Did it for a couple weekends, and the third weekend I came home, and I had little children at the time, and my daughter gave me a dirty look. And I took her out for a walk, or took her out to the grocery store, and she wouldn't talk to me at all. And finally she gave me a look and turned her head, and she bent down and she kissed me right here. And for the longest time I couldn't figure out what it was, and then I realized what she did was she said, I missed you. This is my time. You can't be sailing on my time. That's all I have for today. But the family comes first, and you have to stay positive.